Once upon a time, Xbox Game Pass was not a threat. In fact, from a video that I made 4 years ago where I actually looked at Xbox Game Pass for PC, I got a lot of feedback from that video. I was not necessarily trying to make a video that would reach 80,000 people. However, the video got 78,000 views. And I also got, for me, the most important resource for actually making videos, people's opinions and comments to be able to see how people felt about the service at the time. At this time, Game Pass had a very humble offering of a few games. Nothing specifically spectacular. It was, games like Metro Exodus. You had some games like Outer Worlds, I mix up both names. You had Recore, some of their Xbox titles on here, and they were bringing in the proposition for people to spend $1 as their initial fee, and then anywhere from $5 as the fee, basically as the initial offering went away. And then over time, they increased it to about $9.99 for Game Pass PC. And, you could pretty much go ahead and, if you wanted, continue your subscription. The most important part of this particular video was these 200 comments that I got. The sentiment around Game Pass is very different from the sentiment that we have today, especially seeing how Game Pass has a very different offering today that arguably provides players with way more games for the value that they actually are gaining from the subscription service. But what's really interesting is, in contrast to the sentiment that you had like 4 years ago, the sentiment is very different, especially when it comes to those who play on PlayStation. Because what I'm going to show you here is the sentiment of Game Pass's PC players, the people who play Game Pass on PC. I don't know if it's going to shock you, or maybe you're not going to be shocked because you deep down in your mind might already know that a subscription service that lets you in for a small fee and gives you a mountain load of games is valuable. But it's really interesting to see what some PlayStation fans are saying about Game Pass today. I'll read the first 10 or so comments so that we can kind of get a sense of where this is going. You can come back and read more for yourself if you want. The first comment that I pinned said, haha, you decided to check it out because of my comments on the other video. Somebody had actually told me on one of my videos about it that, hey, you need to try it out, because I wasn't really sure as to what the offering was going to be at the time. He said, Xbox Game Pass is freaking awesome. Someone said $5 a month, $60 a year, access to all these great games for the price of one AAA game a year. This is the best store model there is. I don't need to own a game if I'm just paying pennies to play. Another person said, so it's Netflix for games. Awesome. Somebody said, I'd say it's a no-brainer. The amount of great games you get access to for the low price is crazy. I love owning my games, and I have a decent-sized library on Steam, but realistically, I'd say about 90% of the games I own that I've completed, I'll never play again. Mainly because I still have so many games to play, and that list is constantly getting bigger. Even if you pay the full $5 a month, you can play and complete most of these big titles on that list. So far, I've gone through Gears, Metro, Shadow of War, even though Shadow of War basically crashed their SSD, Ori, Vampire, Forza Horizon 4, and I'm currently going through Outer Worlds. And so far, has cost me less than 15, and I'd easily pay more than that for each individually. So people are citing the monetary value, and this is one thing about the PC gamer. The PC gamer is very conscious about their wallet. This is why many people go to PC. So whenever I talk about PC to the community of console gamers, and I say, hey, this is how people see things, keep in mind that there is a very huge financial incentive for the PC gamer for the most part. Somebody said they probably made this app just so PC players can play the new Halo when it releases. This person said, currently downloading Gears Ultimate Edition, never played Gears ever, so here we go. I was always a PS gamer, and 2 years ago migrated to PC and never looked back. Am I at 10 yet? Someone said, bought an AMD GPU, got 3 months free, amazing value. I think as we get here, this person said this. They said, it's basically a digital blockbuster video store. Game rentals for a monthly fee, not terrible, but I prefer ownership, still a great price. So you can see among these comments, and I think, did I reach 10? I think I'm at 9. I love it, just ordered a gaming laptop to make use of Xbox Game Pass. This person did say, though, that they weren't impressed with the titles, even though they thought it was a good value. They said, I looked at the library, it's not something that I'm impressed by. However, for most people, they saw the value in Game Pass. Now, keep in mind that at this time, Activision had not been acquired, Bethesda had not been acquired, and people already were vibing with the amount of value that Game Pass had. Some people said that it was, from a financial perspective, something that they knew that they could definitely, grab a hold of and take advantage of. So at the end of the day, the sentiment that we know that, Game Pass had at the time was a positive sentiment. Players saw the value on the PC side, and I'm sure on the Xbox side, players also saw the value, but I'm going from the PC perspective. And I wanted to basically point that out, that in contrast to today, you see a lot of detractors from PlayStation side saying that Game Pass is, in some sense, bad. According to some, it cannibalizes sales. That's their big argument that they put forward. Now, to that argument is very interesting because I'm sure that the publishers who put their games on Game Pass understand that it cannibalizes sales before they put their games on Game Pass. They're educated people in their craft and in the work that they do, so they know exactly what it is. So why do they still go ahead and put their games on Game Pass regardless? The answer is very simple. It's such a very competitive market today that you have to actually find people to play your games. You can bring out an amazing game and nobody will play it. That's the gaming industry that we have today. You can bring out a good game that nobody plays. That's reality. And some, developers and some publishers look at it and say, this is an opportunity for us to be able to get our games to people. And in many cases, we can get our games to more people while actually getting paid for it. Because you understand that you can build brand. You can build your brand up by actually introducing your game to more and more people. You can continue your brand strength if more people play your game. Square Enix is understanding this because Capcom did not make that mistake. So Square Enix wants to basically, do a reversion and come back to it. Do you guys know that at one point, Final Fantasy was actually on Game Pass? Final Fantasy 15, I think, was actually on Game Pass as a game that you could actually, get. Is it still even here? Or maybe it was on the console Game Pass. This was very interesting at that time. Because for most people, you probably don't really know that, most of these games were showing up here and people were able to kind of get their hands on them, for the most part. And but look, Final Fantasy 15 Resolution Pack. It was actually crazy. It was actually here. It was a Game Pass game for a while. I remember then. So Square Enix themselves understand that we can leverage cash, we can leverage money, we can leverage exposure to our brand as time comes by. So guess what? After basically signing an exclusivity deal with PlayStation, possibly seeing how that was just not good for their brand, having broken that continuity, they're deciding, man, we're going to come back to Xbox. And when I say broken the continuity, it just means PlayStation didn't have any money enough for them. That's just my tongue-in-cheek way of saying that. So the whole conversation about cannibalization of sales is a no-brainer because the publishers and the developers make the conscious choice to bring their games to a service like this. Then you have the second concern, which to me, I say, what's your business? Which is, if Xbox Game Pass is not sustainable, it's going to crash. Well, let Xbox worry about that. Even though Phil Spencer has said that, Xbox Game Pass is profitable and all, I still see people talking about Xbox needing 100 million subscribers. If not, they're going to shut the service down. Well, when I actually did a little bit of digging about this 100 million subscribers thing, because I keep seeing it in the comment section, I realized that that was actually projections. And even with the FTC conversations, looking at the article here from Tweaktown, I read the article also that was written here on The Gamer. The conversations or the statements that, Phil Spencer made were about increasing their, player base substantially and saying if that did not happen, that they were going to basically go ahead and have to change the business model, of which at the time they didn't have Activision. They had not necessarily tested a big Bethesda release to see what kind of impact it would have. So even at that time, he was speaking from, the reality that we could see then. Or maybe he was downplaying, the capability of what they needed, or basically saying we're in trouble just to try to make the deal go through. You can't necessarily tell what was in his head at the time. So when the conversation comes around to see how Game Pass has, in my opinion, more negativity around it from the PlayStation side compared to even back then when it had less games, I think it's a matter of a lot of folks see how threatening this service is. They see how much value it is. And because most of them pretty much vibe with a similar frequency as PlayStation wants them to vibe, they basically see it the same way PlayStation sees it, because it's actually a disruptive and a threatening business model to PlayStation's hegemony and how business should be done in gaming. You see, disruptions are very scary. It really scares a lot of people, especially when they've taken pride in the way they've done things all over, all the time. However, with the Activision deal paired with Game Pass, it really dwarfs everything PlayStation is doing, because if you look at this article, it's actually taken from the Insomniac's Half. This article written on what's the name? Windows Central. It says Microsoft could disrupt and threaten PlayStation business. Sony's Xbox fears laid bare in massive hack. This is where we got to see these slides. They're strategic, slide when they basically talked about the industry's major shifts and threats, where they looked at basically the ability of Xbox and Microsoft to be able to deliver these games day and date with a subscription service. Elusive, perfect game subscription service is what Sony basically categorizes this particular thing as. Does anybody in their right minds actually think that Xbox is going to go ahead and just drop Game Pass, seeing how it's threatening their own competition? I doubt the answer is yes. All right, I got to go. Thanks for watching the video. Peace out.